just told you who I thought I was. A god. I just told you. That's who I think I am.
Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Is there any limit to your ambition?
No.
Or any limit to what you think you can achieve?
No.
Kanye West, one of the most influential and controversial figures in music history. Welcome back to the Studio Chronicles. Kanye West didn't just make music and melt down on stage. Behind closed doors, there were betrayals, breakdowns, and business moves that the most powerful people in the industry spent years trying to keep quiet. Today, we're going through 5 of them, every single one. Fact 1, the record deal that almost never happened. Before Kanye West was a superstar, he was a kid from Chicago that every major label kept turning down. Not because he lacked talent, but because they couldn't figure out how to sell him. He didn't fit the mold. He wasn't a street rapper. He wore polo shirts and talked about college. Executives looked at him and saw a producer, not a star. What most people don't know is how close he came to never releasing College Dropout at all. Roc-A-Fella Records kept him in limbo for years, using him to produce hits for Jay-Z and others while quietly shelving his solo ambitions. Kanye was watching other artists blow up on beats he made while his own dreams collected dust in a back office. The moment that changed everything was almost a tragedy. In October 2002, Kanye fell asleep at the wheel after a late-night session and shattered his jaw in 3 places. He had his jaw wired shut. He could barely speak. And within weeks, he recorded Through the Wire, rapping through the wires, holding his face together. That song forced the label's hand. They couldn't ignore him anymore. The album that almost never existed went on to sell over 2 million copies, but the industry nearly made sure no one ever heard it. Fact 2, the Taylor Swift moment was orchestrated. Everyone remembers the 2009 VMAs. Kanye storms the stage, grabs the mic from Taylor Swift, and tells the world Beyoncé deserved the award.
Had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
It looked like a spontaneous meltdown. It wasn't, at least not entirely. What the cameras didn't show was what was happening backstage and in the hours leading up to it. Kanye had been drinking heavily before the show, but people in his circle have since admitted that he was also genuinely furious, not just performing anger. He felt the industry was dismissing black artists in categories where they had to compete directly against pop darlings, and he'd been venting about it all night. What's darker is what happened after. The backlash was nuclear.
Lucky enough to have missed it, Kanye West interrupted a young singer named Taylor Swift while she was...
President Obama calling Kanye West a jackass.
I can name you 10 or 15 people that he wouldn't have gone up there and taken that mic away from, but he did it with a 17-year-old girl because he could.
He spent the next 2 years as one of the most publicly hated figures in entertainment. But here's what rarely gets said. The moment launched Taylor Swift into a sympathy wave that helped turn her from a country star into a global pop icon. Whether anyone planned that outcome or not, someone in that room walked away a winner. Fact 3, the Donda deal and the money he never saw. When Kanye's mother, Donda West, passed away in November 2007 following complications from cosmetic surgery, the public grief was real and it was raw. What the public never fully learned was the financial and legal chaos swirling underneath it. Kanye had spent years building a brand partly around his mother. She was his manager, his anchor, his most vocal supporter. After her death, various individuals and business entities attempted to capitalize on her name and legacy before Kanye could properly memorialize it. The Donda brand, which Kanye would later use for his album, became a legal battleground years before any music was recorded. Fact 4, the fashion industry. Gatekeeping no one talks about. Kanye's war with the fashion world is usually told as the story of an egomaniac who thought he could walk into Paris and demand respect. When Kanye first started pushing into high fashion, reaching out to houses like Fendi and Louis Vuitton, he was met with polite dismissal wrapped in racism. Insiders who were present in those early meetings have described a pattern where his ideas were taken, refined, and released by European designers without credit or compensation, while Kanye himself was kept outside the gate. He wasn't paranoid, he was documenting it. He called it out publicly multiple times, and each time the media framed it as a meltdown rather than an accusation. It took him partnering with Adidas on Yeezy and generating over $1 billion in revenue for that company before anyone in fashion was forced to take him seriously. Even then, when Adidas finally terminated the partnership in 2022, they admitted they'd held onto the Yeezy line for months after his most controversial statements because the money was too good to walk away from. They dropped him when the public pressure became unavoidable. Not a moment before. Fact 5. The mental health cover-up the industry enabled. This is the one they tried hardest to bury. For years before Kanye's 2016 breakdown, where he was hospitalized and placed on a psychiatric hold, people inside his inner circle, his label, and his management team knew something was severely wrong. And they kept it quiet, not out of loyalty, out of revenue protection. Former employees and collaborators have described an environment where erratic behavior was normalized, where warning signs were explained away as creative genius, and where the people best positioned to intervene had too much money on the line to do so. Tours kept being booked, albums kept being greenlit, interviews kept being scheduled. While Kanye cycled through episodes that his team privately acknowledged were serious, the machine around him kept running because the machine needed to keep running. When the breakdown finally became public, the narrative was immediately shaped around Kanye as the problem. Exhaustion, overwork, a star who pushed himself too hard. What was buried was the systemic failure of everyone around him, who watched it coming and chose profit over the person. Kanye West wasn't just a rapper who lost the plot, he was a genuinely visionary artist.
I always felt like I could do anything. That's the main thing people are controlled by. Thoughts, their perception of themselves. They're slowed down by their perception of themselves. If you're taught you can't do anything, you won't do anything.
Who has failed, by an industry that used him, by a system that profited off his pain, and by a media cycle that found it easier to mock him than to ask harder questions. The full story of what happened to Kanye West has never fully been told, because too many people with too much to lose have made sure certain chapters stay closed. Drop a comment. Which one of these facts hit you the hardest, and did any of them actually surprise you? And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. This is the Studio Chronicles. We'll see you in the next one.